Hi everyone, and welcome back to the GCMA channels. Today I am delighted to be joined by Ben Thomas from My Voice. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
All good in the north of England. Where are you based?
We're based down in Southampton, and the sun is just about coming out now. Yeah, it's
Excellent. I think as we're recording this, we've all found summer this week, but we'll be moving through that shortly. So what I want to do today is introduce Ben and his services, and really it was an introduction to the GCMA by one of our members, the manager at Hillside Golf Club up in Southport, and recommended that we should have a chat with Ben because it may benefit some of our other members. And other club managers. So I think really this is about Ben explaining what he does and how he's worked with Hillside, and a quick look at some of the software that he uses. So it really is essentially electronic voting platforms. So Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit more about you, My Voice, and what you do.
Thanks, Darren. My Voice is a company that specializes in voting for membership-based organizations. We started in 2006, and we've got about 500 clients on our books. We're a UK trade union scrutineer, UK government approved scrutineer, and we work with many different types of clubs with 50 members up to 500,000. So our clients include the RAC, the Kennel Club, the Camping and Caravanning Club. And as you've mentioned, we worked with Hillside last year on their elections where they took the process online. And myself, I'm one of the directors of the business, one of the founders. And we've been growing steadily for the last 16, 17 years. That's a little bit about us.
Excellent. I know Chris was speaking quite highly of some of the experiences he's had working with you guys. So tell us a little bit more about the software and what that does.
Yeah, so we've developed our own platform and we support that with a team based down in Southampton. And basically, we provide two different options: a self-service option where a club can be trained to run their own processes, or a fully managed service where the club outsources the entire voting process to My Voice. I'd say about 80 to 90% of our clients are actually running a managed service, and that's what Hillside decided to do. And we took a process that they were running internally, which was very paper-based.
Yeah.
We predominantly took it online. So we had a nominations platform where members could put themselves forward to stand for election, and they had a variety of different committees that they could stand for, as well as the board. And at the end of that, we had a number of contested elections. They saw that the number of people putting themselves forward had increased. I would imagine that was because of the convenience of running the process online. You could apply on the form online, submit, very straightforward, as opposed to actually having to fill out a paper form and post that back. So we saw an increase in the number of people putting themselves forward for the committees. And then we went to election, and we focused very much on the online piece. So we distributed the email communications to members, inviting them to vote online. And we sent reminders throughout the voting period to anybody who hadn't participated. But just as importantly, we did actually send out postal ballots as well. So if there are members that aren't comfortable with voting online or want to vote in person, then we do cater for those as well. So we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. But obviously the benefits of running online are you're not paying for print and post, and postage is going up again at the end of the month, I believe. And it's just a far more convenient way for people to vote. You receive an email, you click on the button that authenticates you with the voting site. You're into the voting platform. You can find out more about the candidates standing for election, and then cast your vote in the matter of minutes, seconds even, really. And so it's a much more convenient way of participating in a ballot, and it's still secure. You can only vote once. And all of that information is also being logged on our platform. So administrators can log on and they can actually see how many votes are being cast, the time of day that they're being cast. And we can then sort of map our email communications to turnout, but also anything the club's doing in terms of social media or their own emails. We can monitor the performance they're having on turnout as well. And for Hillside, we actually saw it was just shy of a 70% increase in turnout, which is and around 65% of their members voted online. So saw a big increase there as well. and the comments back from the club themselves were that it actually saved them a lot of administrative time and cost by outsourcing the entire process to MyVoice.
That's an incredible increase in participation there in the electoral process, which as this video is probably going to go out and transcribe, we're in the middle of our own UK parliamentary elections at the moment, so we won't talk too much about that. But what we are talking about is how golf clubs can save some time as well, because you mentioned there at the end the saving of not only cost in terms of postage and everything else, but also that administration time, which is a really valuable tool for members to be able to engage with if it's going to save them time, and certainly engage that demographic of membership that may not necessarily want to vote in person. You know, lots of people do with general elections, they do postal votes now. So I think we're much more used to doing things online. And I think maybe the COVID pandemic accelerated our willingness to do that in some ways, because we had no other option when we had to do things from home. And you know, golf club committees were still having to make decisions, and AGMs were going on. So I think this is a really natural evolution for golf to start getting involved in something like this. I know my golf club would benefit from that, and listening to the way that Chris at Hillside has increased the participation, I think is really attractive to golf clubs to be able to get some proper democratic voting done at the golf club. So that's fantastic. Is there any chance you can show us a little bit of the software just so we can get a flavour of what it looks like?
Yeah, I will do. Just one comment on that, actually, because one thing I haven't really spoken about is our capability to handle proxy voting and voting
Right.
at a general meeting. So we have that capability as well. And I only mentioned that because you talked about COVID.
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations had to push their general meetings online in order to continue their governance. And so our voting platform really developed quite significantly in that area over the last 3 or 4 years. So we do provide online voting in meeting, basically. If you're special resolutions or even the normal ones in the general meeting around the accounts and the auditors, MyVoice can be useful for voting there. And we actually have a plugin that we've just launched for Zoom. So everything can be done within the Zoom platform. You make the MyVoice app available, and you can just vote through the Zoom client. And that's quite attractive because people who are attending the meeting, you may have people who are eligible to attend but not able to vote. And so the polling features within Zoom don't actually cater for that. The MyVoice app does give you the opportunity to allow only those eligible to vote during the meeting, but making the meeting as accessible to everybody as possible. So I just thought I'd mention that. And
yeah,
about the general election at the moment, the number of support calls we're getting, and we don't do any voting with regard to the general election, but from people just saying, I want to vote online. How do I vote online? It's like, you can't vote online. It's just, you know, it is a moment in time. So it's a hot topic for us at this.
Yeah, I'll bet it is quite a timely time to be talking about online voting platforms, isn't it? But yeah, that's really useful. As I say, it sounds quite multifunctional, the way that your software can help manage different parts of the democracy at the golf club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me show you the platform. We've put together a few examples of nominations and voting sites that we've developed for other clients. So we mentioned Hillside. This is the Hillside nomination site that was used last year. It basically contains information on the club and the processes and the positions available. And it's a very straightforward form for the members to fill out. So an email was distributed to all the members, basically providing a link to this website. And then the form was created off the back of their old nominations process, where we have links through to different positions. And then we're capturing whatever details the club wants to capture from the prospective candidates. So we've got personal details. We have the ability to upload a photograph. We do support video as well. And then one thing I think Hillside do really, really well is they actually ask questions of their candidates. And the reason I like this in particular is by asking questions, you're actually gleaning more information that may be pertinent to the role and the position beyond just a bio that a lot of organizations do. They say, you know, submit 150 word, 200 word candidate statement. And really, the candidate can put whatever they want there about their past achievements. Whereas if you're asking specific questions of the candidate, you can find out more about them and what they want to do and what their ambitions are for the role. So we work with the client in terms of what are the most appropriate questions to be asking, and I think that's a really good way of, when it comes to voting, the members being able to read the questions, read the answers, and then make comparisons, which I think are much harder with bios. So that's sort of one of the advantages of this particular site. So we capture some data here. There is data consent. I should say that we're, of course, GDPR compliant. All of our data is hosted in the UK, and with any client that we're working with, we enter into a detailed data sharing agreement about what we will and won't be doing with the data that we capture. So once you've completed this form, it's as simple as saving and submitting, and then the club gets notification that they've received a nomination form. We get notification, and the candidate gets an acknowledgement email as well. And what we found with this process is that it is much simpler than filling out a paper form. And as a consequence, we are seeing more people put themselves forward for election. The other thing, just to flag, is that we do control the number of words that can be submitted. And therefore, what you are finding is that the form absolutely complies with the requirements of the rules and regulations of the club in terms of the number of words submitted, and you're not having to sit there and count the words or go back to a candidate because they're not filled out the form correctly. So that's the nominations piece. There's a dashboard that sits behind this as well, where the club can go in and they can immediately see how many submissions they have against all the different positions. They can download an Excel or Word document. There is a supporter workflow as well. So if a club requires a member to be supported in their application, we have a whole workflow that sits behind that and automates that, which again can sort of significantly reduce time and effort of administrating the nominations process. Close the nominations. If there's an election, then we will put together all of the collateral, so that's the online voting site, an email communication, the postal communication. And we will then distribute that to the membership, inviting them to participate in the process. So if we just to have an example here, this is an email that's going out for the Royal College Podiatry, and they have their AGM this Saturday on the 29th of June. So it's a branded email, provides a little bit more detail on the actual process itself, and then you can register to attend. That's another service that we offer, or you can vote by proxy. And so it's very, very clear what you need to do, and it's very engaging. And so we distribute this type of email. The voting credential is embedded within the button itself, so there's no need to click on multiple screens or type in codes. You're authenticated, and then you're straight into the voting site proper. So that's just wanted to give you an example of the type of communication that we do put together for clients. And then once you're into the voting site itself, you'll see a form where you can then participate in the ballot. I've used Wrexham as an example because it's probably bizarrely one of the highest profile ballots we've ever done. I don't know if people are sort of familiar with Welcome to Wrexham and Ryan Reynolds' procurement of the football club, but we managed that process on behalf of the supporters trust that owned the football club. The hardest part about that ballot was the fact that everybody in Wrexham wanted to vote, not just the members of the supporters trust. So it felt like we were getting calls from the entire town in the ballot, and it was the easiest question ever. Would you want a multi-millionaire Hollywood superstar to build the football club? Yes or no? So they're a resounding success. But yeah, it came with its own problems. Anyway, the form itself is very straightforward. So this is an AGM type ballot where you literally select the options that you wish to vote for. Remember, at this stage, you've already authenticated. You select how you wish to vote. The system then says, okay, this is how I believe you wish to vote. If you're in favour, cast my vote now. Job done. So it's really, really quick, really, really simple. So that's an example of an AGM. And then we have an example of an election. So this is the BACP. We've been working with them for over a decade. And here we have a ballot with candidate details. We can click and view candidate statements. Again, they've gone with this question approach that we recommend. And it's just a case of selecting your candidates. You can always undervote, but you can never overvote with an online ballot. You select how you wish to vote. Platform says, okay, this is who I believe you selected. If you're unhappy, you can go back. If not, cast my vote. Job done. So again, very, very quick, whether it's an AGM or an election, very straightforward. And all this information is made available via an administration platform that we give access to the club, and they can see how many votes have been cast, the time of day that they've been cast as well. So we talked about communications and the email communications and social media posts. We can track all of that via this back office platform that we give access to the client. So yeah, that's sort of what I really wanted to demo today, just to show you how simple it is to operate from the administrator and the voter's perspective.
It looks really impressive. I like the the branding that's on there, and it's it's coming from the golf club and all the business that's using it. I think it looks really impressive and really easy as well. As you mentioned earlier in the call, if it says administration, that is a big tick in the box, and also it's easy to use for the end user, which I think is really important to get them engaged and to use it. So that looks absolutely fantastic. So if you were to wrap things up and to say what would be the impact of a golf club using the MyVoice platform in general, what would the impact that they would see as a golf club?
I'd say if we're moving from a purely in-house postal process to the one we've just gone through, I'd say there would be an increase in participation, a fairly significant increase in participation. It would significantly reduce the amount of administrative effort on the club's part, because we will do all the heavy lifting in terms of the setup, the communications, the reporting, the support. There is invariably a reduction in cost, because by switching online, we're not having to post out lots of postal packs. So there's a cost saving there. There's also an environmental benefit to that, because we're not printing them.
Very much so, yeah.
And also just, I'd say generally a greater understanding of participation in your event, because you can see exactly the effect of any communications that you're having on the process, because of the reporting that's available to you.
Fantastic, Ben. That's really interesting. I'm sure that is of interest to our GCMA members and club managers across the UK. And thanks again to Chris for the introduction. And we'll be putting all your contact details across our GCMA channels accompanying this video. But for anybody watching, how does anybody get in touch with the business?
They can drop myself an email, bthomas@mi-voice.com, or come through on inquiries at myvoice.com as well. Or just give us a call. Our details are available on the website, www.mi-voice.com. Yeah, and we'd be happy to talk about how we can help.
Well, thanks very much. Really enjoyed chatting to you. Thanks for showing the software, and we'll hope to see you again on one of our GCMA channels very soon. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Aaron. All the best.